Hello everyone. I wanted to show you today how we can achieve end-to-end type safety using OpenAPI and Zod. So in order to get started, we need the three packages here. We will be using three different packages. The first one is going to generate an OpenAPI documentation for our API server using our Zod schemas. Okay, so this is basically going to generate an OpenAPI documentation for us using our Zod schemas. The second package that we will use is going to read the generated OpenAPI documentation. Is gonna read that documentation and is going to generate the TypeScript types out of it in order to use those types again in our client side. And also we will use a third package called OpenAPI Fetch. This package is also going to read the generated docs, the generated docs that we generated using this package. This OpenAPI Fetch will also read this docs and will give us a client where we can call our API server, but we will get type hints, type suggestions, auto completion, and validation. So in order to get started, I have a very basic example here. As you can see, an Express server. We will only focus on this path here, which is post users in order to create a new user. So in order to create a new user, I have to read the request body, and I have to return a response body. So I created my Zod schemas here for the request body and for the response body. This is my request body. We need the name, email, and age. And this is my response body. Now you will notice we have something new that we don't usually have inside our Zod instance, which is OpenAPI. So I will show you in a moment what does this mean, but in order to get this method, we need to import extend Zod with OpenAPI first. We will import extend Zod with OpenAPI from this package, from the first package. This package Zod to OpenAPI, and we will pass our Zod instance. After that, we will have this OpenAPI method in our Zod instance. Now basically this method, all it's doing is it's registering this Zod schema, this create user request schema. It's registering, it's going to be registered under this name inside my OpenAPI docs here, inside the components schemas object. So as you can see here, I have inside my OpenAPI docs. If you are not familiar with this docs, it's basically it holds all the information about your server, about your API server. It can have all the types, the schemas. It can have the paths, what kind of request body you expect in order to call this method, what are the expected responses, what is the schema of each response. So this is basically our OpenAPI docs for my basic server here. Now as you can see here, we have a key called components and schemas, and there are two components which are user response and the new user schema. So it's the two schemas that I signed here. They have the same key, a new user schema and user response. They have basically the same key that I registered them with. And also because I have I registered one path, we did not register the other path. We will remove it for now to keep things simple. We have one path, slash users post. So we have also here paths slash users. The method is post, and you can see here that the request body is application JSON, and the schema of the request body is a reference to my component. Which component? The new user schema, which is this one, the new user schema. This is my new user schema, It has a name, an email, and an age. So basically, if you want to hit this route, okay, if you want to hit this route, you need to provide a request body, and it's going to be this schema. And also, if you manage to get a valid response, you should expect this schema, which is user response schema. We should also have another one here, which is the 400. So we can basically specify as many responses as we need. Okay, this is going to be the 400. We need to provide the description, and we need to provide the same metadata that were provided here for our 400. We need to create another schema for the invalid response. Like for example, here I'm returning an object with a message and issues, so we need to create a Zod schema also, and we need to say that if you get a 400 response, you should expect this schema. So after we set up our server, basically this is our server, we set up everything, we are ready to generate this docs. So in order to generate this docs, we will use this package as we said earlier. So we need to import from this package something called OpenAPI registry. This is going to register everything that we need to include in our docs. So for example, as you can see here, we created a new instance, and this code here you can find it inside their docs. I just copy pasted it. Okay, they have the basic example. These are the schemas that they generated, and this is the example that I copy pasted. As you can see, like registry.register path. Okay, you can copy this, and you can play with it and change it so it suits your API server. For example, I have a method post, the path is users, and the request body is going to have this schema. So I imported my schemas. You have to be careful. You need to import the signed schemas. Why do we need to import the signed schemas? Because when we pass our signed schemas here inside the content of the body, inside schema, instead of getting a nested Zod object here inside paths, like as you can see here inside paths, I'm registering a path here. You are registering a path. So instead of getting a nested object here for our Zod schema, I got a reference for what? I got a reference for the component. So because this component has a name, so the registry created a name and put it here inside components schemas. So I have like user response here inside components schema user response, and here instead of having another Zod object, nested Zod object, we basically referencing that Zod components. If we did not register the Zod schema with a key, if we remove this one and we do the same thing here, we generate the docs, we will find that we have a nested Zod object here, and in order to access this Zod object, we will have to go through a very long chain. Like we will have to go for paths, and then post methods, and then we will have to specify the path. We will have to go for a very long chain in order to reach our Zod schema in the front end. But this way, in order to reach our Zod schema, we only need to say, hey, I need components, schemas, user responses, and I got my Zod schema in the client side. We will see this in a moment. So it's always better to register your schemas with this method. Now there is another way to achieve this, but this one is easier. You can also register your schema using just like, you can say like registry dot register. Okay, here you will specify the key, for example, key schema. Okay, and here you will pass a Zod object. You will be passing a Zod object here, for example, create user schema. So right now I created a Zod schema, but it's registered with this key. So we also it will return us a new Zod schema because it cannot alter the Zod schema. So we can save it inside a variable, or like you can say, hey, registered user schema. Okay, and we need to take this registered schema and we need to pass it here. Okay, so this is the other way to do it, but it's better to just extend Zod with OpenAPI and pass it here, and it will be registered inside components for us. Now, after we register our paths like this, we are ready to generate our docs. So we need to import OpenAPI generator. Here we imported OpenAPI generator. We create a new instance and we pass our definitions, which is basically everything that we registered inside this registry. We pass everything that we registered, and this is just some boilerplate. You can find it here somewhere. You will find it here. I think it's here. Yeah, it's here. Like generator.generate documents. As you can see, these are basically some metadata about our documentation. They are going to be at the top of our docs. The version of OpenAPI docs, specification, the info about my API, and yeah. And after we generate the docs, we will save it to our disk. Okay. So after we need to execute, we can write an npm script to execute this file for us. So whenever we want to generate the docs, we will execute this file. So you can write a script like this one. This one is basically going to execute this file. Okay, it's just going to execute this file to generate the OpenAPI.json inside my folder here. So after we generate this docs, we are ready to go and talk about the front end. But we first need to install this package, OpenAPI to TypeScript. So right now we have our docs, we have our OpenAPI docs, and we need to generate the TypeScript types out of this docs. So we need to install this package, and we need to write a script that is going to execute this package. Okay, we will execute this package. We will pass our OpenAPI docs destination here, okay, which is this file here, OpenAPI.json, and we will specify also with this option, we will specify the output destination. So this is basically the input, and this is the output destination for the generated types, TypeScript types. It's going to be under my src API generated.ts inside my front end folder. So after we execute this script, if we go to our front end, we will see that we have this file, this generated file that has all our types. Okay, and we will use this file inside our client-side code to get the Zod schemas, and also to we will use the paths also to get our client, our OpenAPI fetch client here. So after we generate this file, all we have to do is we can go for our app. Okay, we can go for our app, as you can see here, and the very first thing that we need to do is we need to import paths and components from the generated file. Okay, we import paths and components, and in order to access our components, like if we look at our OpenAPI.json, we have two components. We have user response and we have a new user schema. So here I am having an error, create user request. It's not create user request, it's a new user schema. So I need to say that this one is, yeah, it's a new user schema. Okay, a new user schema, and here my response schema So after we import paths and components, okay, here I'm also we need to download OpenAPI fetch, which is this package here that we talked about, and we need to import create client from this package. And here we can access our Zod schemas. As you can see, like this is my new user schema. Instead of going for a very long chain of components, paths, blah blah blah, because I registered my schema, I can just go for schemas, a new user schema, and I got my new user schema. Okay, because it's inside components. As you can see, it's inside components, schema, user response. The same goes here, components, schema, user response. I was able to access my response schema type. And now after we have our types, we will instantiate a client, and we will be passing the paths for this client. Okay, the paths that we imported here, we will pass it to this client. We will specify the base URL, and after that I will show you what you will get. Okay, so now we have our client. So now we can say client dot, we have for example a post method. So this is my post method, and you will see the magic right now. We will have all the type suggestions. We will have every suggestion, every validation that we registered inside our OpenAPI docs. So I have, for example, I only have this route right now because this is the route that we registered, and then we have to open, this is an option, this is an option object. So also we can have the body. We need to specify the body. So we need to say the body is going to be, in order to hit this route, we need to provide, as you can see, age and email and name. And if we forget one of them, or if we pass, like for example, a string instead of an integer, we will get type error. String is not assignable type number. If we missed one of them, we will get an error also, like for example, an email. An email is going to be like this. Name. Okay, as you can see, we did not specify an email validation. Okay, so if we missed one of them, we will get a TypeScript error. As you can see, we'll get an error that we should expect a name, but we are not getting a name. Type age and email is not assignable type name, email, and age. So also you can basically read the docs here. You can provide parameters, queries, and you will get also you will get type validation and type hints for everything. For example, if you have I think right here, if you have a parameters, if you have a param, like for example here we have a post ID, you just need to use this param key here, provide the object with the path, the name of the param, it's called post ID, and the value. So you don't write your param inside the URL. No, you provide it inside the option object here. Like you go for params, you say what param you want to assign and what is the value that you want to assign it for. Okay, so yeah, basically this is what I wanted to show you. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and goodbye.